Good evening, everyone, families. Welcome to our preschool orientation meeting. We are going to be going through a number of slides this evening to tell you a little bit about our integrated preschool program and to welcome your children as future community peers. The most important thing we want you to do tonight is to make sure that you mark your attendance. And in order to do that, you can see if you have a Google email, you can type into the chat and provide your child's name. What's going to happen there is it will then populate our attendance sheet for you. If you don't have a Google email, and that's Gmail, you can fill out the Google form that was emailed to you. Actually, we haven't filled that, but you can also do this QR code. So you can sign the QR, you can just scan the QR code and it should connect you to the attendance sheet. Worst case, if you can't figure out any of those, just go ahead and type your child's name and your name into our chat, and we will make sure that we make a note that you were here. We will also have some question and answer at the end. So if there's anybody struggling with the attendance piece, please don't hesitate to let us know in the chat, and we can make sure that you get documented for your participation. As you may recall from your application, attendance at tonight's session is mandatory for your child to move forward. So we really want to make sure that everybody does make sure that their child is documented as attending. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Again, use the QR code or type your child's name into the chat. Just make sure that we know that you are all here. Great. I see a couple strumming it. That's great. Okay, you can continue to do that while we're talking. Thank you very much for doing that. We're going to move on to our next slide, which is introductions. So welcome. I'm going to just tell you who everyone is. Everyone here is going to be talking at some point, and they will also introduce themselves when they come in to do their presentation. But just to give you an overview of who we have with us tonight, I have Patty Carifio, who is one of our early childhood special education teachers. We also have Trisha Ferretti, who's our other early childhood special education teacher. We have Stephanie Pexoto, who is our preschool speech and language pathologist. Kira Drugan, who is our school psychologist at the MECC. We have Lori Johnson, who is our school nurse. We have Jeremy Gobiel, who is our principal at the MECC. We have Jennifer Healy, who is the director of special education for the Middleborough Public Schools. And we have me, Melissa Deutschman. I'm the special ed coordinator, and I do a lot of the coordination services for the preschool program. Welcome. So first to start, we're going to have Jennifer Healy is going to talk about just an overview of our early childhood program.
Thank you, Melissa. Welcome, families. It is my privilege this evening to be able to talk with you about our programming and the important work that we do every day here in Middleborough Public Schools. This is my first year as Director of Special Education. However, I have been fortunate enough to work within the district for the last 12 years, both as a middle school substantially separate special ed teacher and also as a special ed coordinator. I've witnessed firsthand the dedication of the staff within this district and specifically within the pre-K programming. This might be your first experience with us in Middleborough. So I think it's really important for you to understand our value system and why the integrated pre-K program is so important for students to begin their journey with us. The word inclusion is often misperceived as a reference to a specific classroom where special ed students are serviced or supported. However, inclusion is not really a classroom. It's actually a mindset. It's the promise that we here in Middleborough make to all of our students that they are welcome within all spaces of Middleborough. In doing this, we're reminding learners that they have voice, agency, and purpose in the greater community. It is up to us, the district, to ensure equitable access to learning, to offer opportunities for social engagement, and to create a culture where we value our differences. Our pre-K programming is just the beginning of that educational journey for your child, and we will help to share that journey with them. We have so much to share as far as academics, behavior, social skills, but some of the most valuable organic lessons they will learn from each other. It's our hope that the students within the program will not only gain readiness skills for kindergarten, but also develop those pro-social behaviors, tolerance of others, and respect for differences of all kinds. As we continue the night of presentation, you'll have the opportunity to meet some other amazing staff within this program. You've already met Melissa Deutschman. She is our special ed coordinator and veteran administrator of 23 years here. Both Ms. Carifio and Ms. Ferretti, who will be speaking, have more than 20 years of experience and expertise with our early learners. And we also offer a robust range of service, which can include occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language therapy, adapted physical education, behavioral support, and also therapeutic support for any student who requires that level of intervention. We're looking forward to another great year here within our pre-K classrooms, and I'm certainly looking forward to continuing to watch this program grow and evolve so that we can support all learners. Thank you.
Okay, next thank you, Jen, so much for your introduction to our program. Okay, moving on, we're also going to hear from Mr. Gobiel. Again, he's the principal of the MECC, and he's going to talk about the tuition for this program and the volunteer opportunities for families.
Thank you, Mrs. Deutschman. Thank you, Mrs. Healy. I want to definitely reiterate what Ms. Healy had said about the inclusiveness of our school. We are a pre-K and K building, and the priority with all of our classrooms is that they are inclusive. And MECC has been described as a magical place, and it really is. This is my third year in the building as a principal, and I'm very excited about continuing what we've already started. So I will talk a little bit about tuition and volunteers. This is kind of dry stuff, but this is a tuition-based program, and it for our community peers. All of your families will receive a letter this summer with the fee schedule and the first payment, including what it will look like for the year in August of this coming year. Generally, the fee is $10 per session and is usually 4 to 6 sessions per week, depending on what your student's class placement looks like. One of the biggest issues for me is if you have difficulty financially with making the payments for a particular month or whatever, please reach out to us and let us know. The worst thing that can happen for us is that we all of a sudden see a family that hasn't paid in several months, and it's like, try to reach out to them, and just reach out to us and let us know what's going on, and we'll definitely work with you. The other thing that I wanted to check in about was volunteers and Corey's. Corey is a criminal records check. We want people in our building. We want families in our building, in our school, volunteering and being a part of the wonderful things that happen at our school. The Corey is good for 3 years once it's obtained, and you can actually fill that out at any of our schools, any one of our Middleborough public schools. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you so much, and welcome to Middleborough Schools. We're looking forward to your career, your student's career with us.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gobiel. All right. So next we're going to talk a little bit about the enrollment process. So I have a couple of slides on this, and I've talked extensively to our registrar to make sure that when the students after your student's been screened and you've been indicated that you are ready to move on to the enrollment, that we kind of follow the steps that our registrar is looking for. So you can see from this slide that talks about the enrollment process that each of our prospective students must first participate in a screening that's conducted by our early childhood staff. That's Mrs. Ferretti and Ms. Carifio. We're going to talk about what to expect from the screening a little bit later, but you all should have your screening dates. If you do not have your screening date, it came with your original letter, which told you what number your child got in the lottery. But if for some reason you've misplaced that and you're not sure about your screening date and time, please reach out to me or Mr. Gobiel regarding that time tomorrow via email. We have a spreadsheet. Mrs. Joyce, who is the secretary at the MECC, can also look it up for you. So we have a spreadsheet with everybody's time. So we can look that up for you if you have a question about what your day or time is. We are conducting the screenings on March 28th and 29th at the MECC, in the auditorium, and each student has a designated time spot. And also, we'll talk about this later with screening, but anybody can bring your child. So if you can't get off work and you need to have a family member bring them, that's okay. When you do come to screening, you're going to need to bring your health records, and that includes the most recent physical immunization with lead level. Your child may not have had their 4th birthday yet. Child has to be 4 by September, so they may still be 3. So if you haven't had that 4-year-old physical yet, then you would bring the 3-year-old physical with you. Ms. Johnson is going to be there. The school nurse is going to be there to meet with you at the screening. So you do need to bring the physical with you. That's actually the only thing you're going to bring with you, because you're not going to bring registration paperwork to the screening. Once your child has passed screening, the screeners will be giving you some information to move on to the registration. They're going to give you exactly what you need to do, the next steps afterwards. So really all you need to do is bring the health record, health information to the screening. Then you'll be completing the online registration for your child in the Aspen with the information that we give you at screening. So if there's any questions about that, we can talk about them at the end of the presentation, our Q&A. But we also have our registrar's information here. So what do you need to start collecting before screening? The health record, because you're going to need to bring it with you. Also, if your child moves on to the registration, you're going to need the official birth certificate, proof of residency, which is going to be uploaded after screening, and any legal documents for instance, any custody issues, you would upload that after screening. If a student has an incomplete file, which means we don't receive all your registration paperwork through the summer, we won't be able to move forward with your child's registration. And also, Mrs. Goodine, our registrar, really needs a complete file in order to say it's active and ready to go. If for some chance you can't bring your physical to the screening, you can let Mrs. Johnson know while you're there, still meet with her, talk to her with any concerns you may have, and then you can upload the physical with you. But we really do hope that you can bring the health record with you to the screening, because that would help tremendously in moving our process along. Any questions about documents should be directed directly to our registrar, Katie Goodine, and her phone number is listed there. But again, if you don't have a chance to write down the phone number, or you're just wondering who again you need to talk to, shoot me an email and I'll be happy to get back to you. Some of the documents you're going to need for proof of residency. And again, we're just telling you this now, do not need to bring this to screening, but just so you can start gathering these items, this is what you're going to need if your child's registering for kindergarten also in the future. It would be either a mortgage or a lease statement dated within the last 60 days. We do have a process for tenants at will, and Katie, our registrar, can talk to you about that. But you can document a recent payment in writing with the landlord's signature and date. Again, Katie, our registrar, can help families with any kind of unusual situations they may have. We also look for a utility bill, the most recent, with the address that matches the mortgage lease. And we look for either a driver's license or a state-issued ID with the address that matches. There is more information on the district's website, but again, if you have any questions about your specific document, the best person to talk to is our registrar, Katie Goodine. So to summarize, when told to do so by your child screener, you're going to register in Aspen, which is our online database. It's going to be an online application process through the district's website. We have had families who struggle with the online piece, in which case you just contact Katie and she'll help you through it. All required documents can then be uploaded there, which she prefers, or you can also be physically dropped off at her office, which is located at the new central office location on School Street. It's actually 6 School Street. There's a link there for her registration website. If you go out to the Middleborough website, you can also look up registration there. And if you cannot complete the process electronically, or if you require any kind of assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to Katie, or again, me. I can send you the link in order to contact Katie. And a quick summary. Again, your child's going to be coming to screening at the MECC on either March 28th or 29th. Everybody has assigned day and time. They're going to be doing a health record review with our nurse at the screening. You'll be doing that actually while your child's doing the screening. Once your child passes, you'll be doing the online registration in Aspen when told to do so. You'll be given the link to do that. And you will, at that point, upload all the remaining documents into Aspen. And that's a quick summary. Again, anyone who has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. It does get a little complicated. I know that a lot of families have different kinds of circumstances. So don't hesitate to reach out and let us know, and we can help you work through that. So moving on, Lori Johnson is now going to talk about the health information.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Melissa. Welcome to our preschool information night. And I'd like to go over some things that are required. Melissa did say a bunch of them, but next slide, please. What is required when you come in is the 4-year physical. These are all state mandated in order for your child to come to our preschool program. So I'll need the most recent physical when you come, and the immunizations up to date, and a lead level. And if you could please check the physical and make sure the lead level is on there, that would be appreciated. I will meet with each and every one of you and let you know what you're missing and what's needed prior to September. If your child has a diagnosis of any allergies, bee allergy, peanut milk, any sort of food allergy, latex, obviously you'll let me know. Or asthma, diabetes, seizure disorder, if they have obviously a special healthcare need, we'll talk about that. If they will need any medications at school, I will need a doctor's order, and that's for any medications, over the counter or anything. We do discourage any sort of cough drops for choking purposes here. I will need you to fill out an authorization for medication administration form if your child's going to have medications here. I will give you a care plan that I will ask you to fill out and put your child's picture on it. That describes your child's diagnosis, when they were diagnosed, and anything that's pertinent for me to know. And I make a copy and I do give it to the teacher. All medications must be brought in by an adult. Please do not, with preschool, you bring them in anyways, but they all must be brought in by an adult and brought to me. Do not send them in with your child. Also, I wanted to mention on the physical, it does have to be the actual physical. So when you check it, it can't be a visit summary or a progress note or a health summary. It's usually about 2 pages, all inclusive, that has everything on it, including immunizations, and it must be signed by the pediatrician. So please check that, because I will have to ask you to get the actual physical if the wrong one is brought in. And over the summer, if they're turning 4, you can scan it and email it to me. You'll get my information when I meet with you. But don't wait until the first day of school, so that I know that your child's all set to come. And then I'd like to go over a few things. Next slide, please, for the protocol regarding illness. Your child must be home fever-free for 24 hours without medication, not a quick dose and send them in. They must be home for 24 hours after the last episode of vomiting or diarrhea, with or without a temperature. They must be home. If they did vomit, your child will come in. Ask Miss Tricia and Miss Patty. They'll come in and they will tell them that they were throwing up last night in the bed or something like that. And then they will call me or bring the child up to me, and I will call you, and you will have to pick up your child. So we do try to stop the spread of germs here, and we do a pretty good job. If your child has conjunctivitis, strep throat, pneumonia, anything that is contagious, they do need to be on the antibiotic for 24 hours. So a full day, not a quick 3 doses and send them in, but a full day home and feeling well enough to be here. They're only little, and you know your child best. If they always eat and they won't eat and their belly hurts or something, them. You're better off to keep them home, because they will come in and they will probably vomit. Please go over coughing and sneezing in their elbow. I know we've all done that for the last 3 years and wearing masks and everything. Thank goodness we don't need to. But please go over that over the summer, along with any toileting that they may need help with. We do encourage healthy snacks. We have a health and wellness policy. We do not share any food. We do have students that do have multiple different allergies, and we like to keep everybody safe here. So we do not share food, and we do encourage healthy snacks. And then that last part there, the Safe to School number, and that's just for our school. I do ask that you call that if your child isn't going to be in school for any reason at all, whether it's just a long weekend away or something. That way we know your child is home safe with you. And I know frequently the parent will just let the teacher know. So I do ask that you will include me either in the email or please call that number. Because you will get the unexcused absence phone call if I'm not made aware. I am the one that listens to that number in the morning, and you can call at any time because it is just a recording. And if you have any questions, like I said, I'll be meeting with each and every one of you on the screening dates. And thank you for coming to our orientation. Bye.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, for talking about the health. And again, she will be at the screening for any families that have questions. Okay, so next we have, who's coming next? Let me see. Is it preschool screening? So this is going to be Ms. Carifio is going to talk about what to expect when you do bring your child for screening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patty Carifio. I'm one of the early childhood special education teachers here at the MECC. And I'm going to try to answer some of the following questions that you probably have about screening, what it is, why do we screen, how do we screen, what happens at screening, and when will I know if my child is in the program? So the first thing is, what is screening? Screening is the third part of our process. You applied, your child's name was pulled for the lottery, and now we're on to this meeting tonight, and then we go to the screening process. As part of Child Find under IDEA, each state has to have policies and procedures for finding students within the community who may be in need of special education or related services that may not yet be enrolled in school. So in Middleborough, we do this in a variety of different ways. And one of the parts that we use is kindergarten screening, but we also use screening our community peers. Screening allows us to look at your child's current development level and see if they're on target. It's really just a snapshot of your child at this point in time. And how do we do the screening? We use a tool called the Brigance. It's widely used by childhood programs throughout the country. And each screening will take about 10 to 15 minutes. There's nothing you can teach your child. There's nothing you can do. It's all normed on typical behavior and typical skills for children who are between the ages of 2 and 5. Brigance looks at a variety of areas: speech and language, answering questions, attention, fine motor, gross motor, and following directions, for just some of them. The tool is used for the child's age. So if your child's 3 when they're coming to screening, the tool that we'll use is appropriately geared for typical 3-year-old development. If they're 4, we'll use the tool that is geared for 4-year-olds. What will happen on that day? Anyone can bring them in, as Melissa said before, but please don't tell them they're coming to preschool at this point. You can tell them they're coming to play some games with the teachers, coming to see the school, but we have to get through this part of the process first. When you come for your scheduled appointment, please come on time. Please keep your appointment. They're scheduled back to back within 15-minute, half an hour increments. So we try to keep right on schedule so we don't delay anybody else. Also, you'll come into the front of the building at the MECC. We'll be screening at the MECC, and you'll check in at that point. We'll be introducing you to either myself or Mrs. Ferretti, and we'll take your child at that point to come with us, and you're going to come talk to the nurse at that point. If your child won't separate from you at that point, please don't force them to come with us. We talk about stranger danger with kids all the time, and some of them haven't met us. So we don't want to force them. We'll try to encourage them, but if they don't, we have options at that point. The screening process identifies the strengths of your child and if there are any areas that need to be looked at further. After screening, we're going to bring your child back to you. We're going to be in the same area as the nurse, so it won't be very far. And then we'll go on to the next steps. The next steps are either to be rescreened, to come back at another point in time, or to register. And if you get to the point for registering, just follow the information that was given to you earlier. If your child has to be rescreened, we'll arrange a time for them to come back. And this can be for many different reasons. We've had children who have been rescreened and multiple times come in and we work with them, try to get them more comfortable. They may not have wanted to separate. They may have needed a little extra time, but we will try to work on that. So I'm also going to talk about this next slide and the qualities that make a good community peer. Things that we're looking for when your child comes in. Do they separate easily from the parents or whoever brings them in? Can they follow directions? Can they speak clearly and model language for other students? Because a lot of our students come in with language needs. We're looking for students that can help us with that and model because they get tired of listening to the adults. They want to talk to the other kids. Can they share? Can they cooperate? Are they helpful? Do they take turns? Are they independent with self-help skills? Toileting, they must be toilet trained by the time that they start our program. Can they play and accommodate to new situations? Do they have age-appropriate developmental skills? Can they work well in groups as well as alone? Do they pay attention to activities? And can they transition in a new environment or with new activities? Like to thank you, and we're really looking forward to meeting your children on the days in March. And if you have a conflict with your time, we can work and see if we can switch with somebody else that may have a conflict, but those times are really important to keep your scheduled appointment. Thanks for coming tonight.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Carifio. And again, we'll be seeing everyone at screening. For those who do have a conflict, as she said, reach out to me. We do have some families that have already indicated that they're not moving forward in the program. So we already have some open spots so we can move some families around. And then sometimes it tends to work out. We're able to just move families around in order to accommodate. And again, anyone can bring your child, but probably somebody that knows them would be better than us right here. Okay, so Mrs. Ferretti is going to now talk about a typical day in preschool.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am so glad to be here. So I kind of feel like this is a perfect time to talk about actually what a typical day looks like. I feel like we got a little bit of our philosophy, from Jen Healy, and Patty talked about like the parts of the screening. And so basically, if you've gone through the screening and now really what is preschool? Preschool is a place for children 3, 4, and 5 to leave their families and come and join a community of peers and to practice their independence. They have to practice these skills over and over again. And when they come in, all of these things that you see up on the screen, our work time, our circle time, these are all things that are kind of built into a day. If you were to just kind of peek through a window or look through the door, you would really just see, you'd probably see a lot of activity, which is exactly what you should see. You would hear a lot of talking, you would hear laughing, you may hear some negotiating. Really, what we're taking your children and any child who has been found eligible with a disability, they're all our children in our district, and they come in and they're going to go through a school day experience. Our goal is to take your children that you're here tonight, as long as other families who aren't here, who their child may be on an IEP. We want everyone to make growth and progress. And that's what school is all about. It's about practicing and learning and growing. And we will have lots of opportunities for small group, for whole group. We have opportunities for students to make choices about what they want to do for their work plan for the day. We have literacy centers, math centers. Really, you probably have about 45 minutes to an hour almost each day where we don't, I know in preschool generally, work or play really equals the same thing as work. For children, playing and figuring things out and maybe arguing with their neighbor over a toy that they wanted, these are all skills that everyone needs. And our job is to kind of facilitate these interactions and help your children move along. We want them, when they're getting ready to go to kindergarten, we want them to have solid learner skills. Really, and what that is being able to come in, take direction from another adult, follow directions and follow rules. We do have, if you're sitting at the rug, for our group meeting, now we're in March, and now the children have had so much practice that we use words like, this is your group plan. What's your job? Your job at the rug is to, sit with a quiet body, keep your eyes on the teacher. So we really just give them that daily practice. So it's a wonderful place to learn and play. You will see, actually in this slide here that I'm looking at, one of them is a music class and one of them is a library class. So depending upon the session, we have a gym class, which is run by our adapted physical education teacher in the district. We have, some sessions have art, music, and library. And the music teacher, the art teacher, and the library teacher are the teachers as well for kindergarten. So children come in having become a member in a community of the school. And then when they transition to kindergarten, these are their teachers that they're going to see. So it just is really a seamless transition into their next learning experience. And another thing that you might hear when you open the door, it's really loud in our preschool wing. And loud is good. Loud is busy, loud is work, and loud is talking. So thank you so much. And thanks for listening. I hope you have a good night.
Great. Actually, could we go back to the last slide for real quick? Just really quickly, for families who ask this often, what are our sessions? We do offer sessions Monday through Thursday in the mornings or Monday through Friday in the afternoons. And you can see the AM session is 8:45 to 11:15, and the PM session is 12 to 2:30. We don't have any sessions on Friday mornings. That's when our teachers use the time to do evaluations, and they do visits to other programs in the community and work with families on other activities. Okay, so we're going to move on now to speech and language. And we're going to have Stephanie is new to our program this year. She's going to talk about speech and language and where your child might see her in the classroom.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Pexoto, and I'm the speech language pathologist at MECC. I provide direct services for children with identified disabilities in communication, which encompasses both language and articulation. I'm at MECC full-time, and my therapy room is located in the same hallway as Miss Patty and Miss Trisha. I'm right next door. I provide speech and language therapy services both in the classroom and outside of the classroom setting. When I'm in the classroom, I may be sitting at a table for snack time, facilitating conversation. I might be at a center with students, encouraging play schemes, or I might even be running a whole super group a few times a month, where I'll come into the classroom and run a lesson that provides language enriching activities. These might include the use of visuals, movement, collaboration, and a number of other speech and language skills that benefit everyone. You and your child may also see me during pickup and drop-off times or at school events working as a team with Miss Patty and Miss Trisha. My role and responsibility is also to be a resource to you and your family. I'm here for any questions or concerns in the area of communication as your child's moving through various speech and language milestones in preschool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steph. So now we're also going to have Kira Drugan is going to talk a little bit about the social emotional services that we offer at the MECC, including preschool.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Kira Drugan. I am the school psychologist at the Early Childhood Center. What I do is provide support for both preschool and kindergarten students in the area of social, emotional, and sometimes some behavioral needs. I go into each classroom on at least a monthly basis and follow up with additional activities for teachers to complete and introduce different social emotional concepts. And the two curriculums that we are currently using include the social thinking and zones of regulation programs. I teach you through whole class lessons and small groups if needed. I am also here as a resource for anybody who would like to talk more about their child's needs, or if anything were to pop up during the school year, I am available for anybody who needs that. So I'm glad everyone was here tonight, and we welcome you to the preschool program. Thank you.
So now we're at the point with question and answers. And because of the platform we're using, this is really the point for you to put your questions out to us via the chat if you can. If you have any specific questions, if you have a question that's really relative to your individual child and you want to speak privately to me, go ahead and you can send me an email. We have another slide, which is going to have all of our email contacts listed, but also you would have your email, because I'm the one who sent you the link for tonight. So if you're here and you got the link, then you should have my email and you should be able to reach out. You can also reach out to Mr. Gobeil if you have any questions about the tuition, and his contact information is going to be shared also. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. A bunch of people have put their names in the chat for attendance, which we really appreciate. I also see I can look at the families that have scanned the QR code, and I see that we have a number of families who have been able to do that as well. So I'll give you a few minutes if anyone has any questions to put in the chat that I can answer for you, and then we will be wrapping up. I don't see any questions. That's good. I guess we covered everything. Again, if you think of a question later tonight and you're thinking, I wonder about this or I wonder about that, don't hesitate to reach out. We've been doing this for a number of years. I know specifically Ms. Carifio, Mrs. Ferretti, and I have been doing this together for, I don't even want to say how many years. So we have heard every single question you can think of. Don't hesitate to ask anything that may be on your mind, because really it's probably something we haven't heard before. So don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to share any information with you. Send me an email. I'll be in the office tomorrow as well as Friday, though we do have an early release day on Friday. So it's going to make our availability to respond a little bit limited, but please don't hesitate to contact us via email. Our next slide here has all of our contact information, and this is for Mr. Gobeil, the principal, and Mrs. Healy, myself, Mrs. Johnson, and the registrar. Oh, I see some questions. Okay, so if you have a student who was referred through EI, you're talking about a student who might be coming in through the evaluation process, I think the question is, would they be together? We would talk about each individual families. Some families, if they have another child already in the program through the special ed avenue, they don't want their children together. We would talk about having them be separate. Some families think, hey, this would be great. So we would talk about it on an individual basis. So if that's your particular situation, we can talk about what makes most sense for your child, whether being with a sibling is a good thing or not. For some kids, it's great. And for some kids, they need the space. So it's really a case-by-case basis. And question was, do you still need to pay with a bank check or a money order? Thank you for asking that. The answer is yes. That's from probably a previous family. You do. That's actually the Middleborough Public Schools situation. They cannot, the district itself cannot accept payment with a regular check or cash. We do have to have a bank check or a money order. So when we send out the tuition letter this summer, that's going to be very clearly specified. I know it's a bit of a burden. It's a little harder than just writing a check or doing cash, or Venmo would be great. Unfortunately, we're just not set up as a municipal school district to be able to do that. And if your child was previously in EI and aged out, are they still eligible? Yeah, so eligibility for this program really is, number one, you're a resident of Middleborough. Number two, they're 4 by September 1st. Number three, they're toilet trained by the day they enter school. So they don't even have to be toilet trained now. Previous eligibility for EI does not change your ability to go through the screening. We do use the screening to see if a child is meeting the characteristics of what we're looking for in a community peer, which Ms. Griffio talked about earlier, but past involvement in early intervention is not a factor at all. We've had a number of students who've gone from EI, who've moved on and been very successful in our program. So that's not a limiting factor. Okay. So again, make a quick note. You all can also find our email addresses on the district website if you ever have any questions about reaching out, or if you can't quite write all these down, if you don't have a pen and pencil or pen or paper ready. Can you still pay the year in full? Yes, you can still pay the year in full if you choose to do that. You could also pay semi-annually, quarterly. We put out a schedule for the monthly due, but if you want to just pay in a lump sum, some families want to pay 3 months at a time. You can do whatever works. You just would make a note on your payment, what you're doing with that. So you might say, I'm paying for 3 months, I'm paying for 6, I'm paying for 10, whichever. Okay. All right. And our last slide is, again, our attendance QR code. If you happen to come in late and you missed this at the very beginning, the very most important thing you can do tonight is to mark your attendance. And so that includes putting your child's name in the chat or scanning the QR code. I do have, what happens when you do the QR code is it populates a spreadsheet that I have, and I can see exactly when everyone logged in. I have bunch of names already here that popped right up from the QR code. But if you're worried it didn't work, just throw your child's name into the chat, and we're making a separate list and we'll cross-check all that. So again, your child's name in the chat, your child's name on the QR code, either one counts. We just need to make sure that you were here and that you heard all this information. So we'll leave this up for a few minutes so families can do that if you hadn't had a chance, or if any other questions. But we want to thank you for your time tonight. We'll thank the staff for participating in this tonight. We're looking forward to another great year in 23-24 school year. And we're looking forward to meeting your children on March 28th or 29th, depending on their screening day. Thank you so much.